Hey everybody, thanks for joining our feature focus webinar today. I'm Megan, if we haven't met before. I live in Denver, Colorado, and guys, guess what I woke up to this morning? A blizzard outside. It is already May. It should not be snowing anymore. But truth be told, it is here, but I'd love to know where you guys are tuning in from. So as we wait a couple minutes for the last few people to trickle in, go ahead and pop into the chat on the right side of your screen. Let us know who's here. Make sure that all of our tech issues are all sorted out. Let me know you can hear me okay. Maura, my colleague and coworker who lives in Washington, D.C., is actually going to be on as well, answering all your scheduling questions as we look at the MeetEdgar schedule. So if you have questions, this chat feature over here is going to be a great place to pop them into. She'll do her best to keep up with it, but if we miss anything, we're also going to do a Q&A at the end. So I'll pop over, take a look at them. If we miss your question, be sure to put it in again because we want to make sure you guys are set up for success when it comes to scheduling in Edgar. Southern California, ooh, Chrissy, I'm jealous. Ooh, the UK, we've got a couple of UK people here. Our founder of Edgar is actually over in England as well, so that's exciting. New Zealand, ooh, very fun. I think it's an even different day for you guys over there. Brighton, very, very nice. Cool, so you can hear me, Mark. Thanks for letting me know. Always a nice little reminder there. So guys, we are doing a feature-focused webinar. We're going to try to do this as a weekly series just to make sure that you guys are getting the most out of all of the Edgar features. And this is because, as you know, we want to make sure you are doing less work when it comes to scheduling your social media posts so you can spend that extra precious time that you gain back with what Edgar is posting for you in order to actually work on your content, in order to actually get into the nitty-gritty of your business to move it forward. And if you plan these things out, it really is said you can reclaim about 8 hours a week using a scheduling tool like Edgar. And the flexibility that Edgar's schedule allows for is really awesome, not only for your evergreen content, but also those day-specific posts. Funny story about that, actually, for you New Zealand and Australia people down there. When we sent the email out for this webinar, we referenced summer and Memorial Day, and I got a response back from someone saying, hey, we're in Australia, so jealous it's going to be your summer there. We're just heading into the winter months. So we're excited to go ahead and show you not only things that you can do with seasonal content in Edgar, but also things that are relatable to everyone. Like, guys, Mother's Day is coming up. I know all of your followers have mothers out there. So seeing how you can do day-specific posts mixed in with your more evergreen content in Edgar. So I know as small business owners, as entrepreneurs and everything, we are so caught up in this badge of honor that busyness is so important these days, but using a scheduler like Edgar can make sure that busyness isn't ruling your life. Rather, it's going to be something that you can take time to rest. You can take time to recharge. So the content you're producing and the connections and engagement you're making with your followers is really going to show up in a genuine, authentic way that resonates with your audience. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is go ahead and share my screen. We're going to look at an Edgar account, and this is going to go ahead and make my face a little smaller there and share my screen with you. One second as we get that transitioned on over. Cool. So as I share my screen, I'm not going to be able to see the chat anymore. So make sure you get those questions tomorrow. But like I said, after we do a quick demo of all the ways you can schedule in Edgar, we're going to do a quick Q&A afterwards. So keep those questions coming and I'll pop back into chat in a few minutes. Awesome. So this is your main schedule here in Edgar. So when you're setting up your account and adding content, there's a few different ways you can make sure that content is going out when your followers are online, so you don't have to stop your busy day. Because we all know if you're not planning ahead and you're thinking, oh, I'll get to it later, those posts aren't going to go out. And lo and behold, it's been a couple weeks since you've updated your followers. You're not creating that consistent vibe that keeps your tribe excited to hear from you. And you're thinking, oh, I can't post now. It's been so long since I posted. And you get that anxiety built up. So this recurring schedule right here is going to be a gold mine for you keeping that consistency with your followers, for you connecting with them on a genuine level every single day, showing up. Because when you think about it, if people are following you on social media, they are inviting you into some of their most intimate relationships with their friends and family. And you showing up in their feed is quite an honor. So you want to make sure that you're doing it in a way that will resonate at the times that they're online. So this schedule section here, when you go to the schedule tab at the top of your account, is a weekly repeating schedule. The awesome thing about a weekly repeating schedule is you do only have to set it up once, and Edgar does the rest of the work cycling on through for you. So when you come to your schedule, you want to think about, okay, what are the times of day that people are going to consume my content? Making a time slot here is super simple. All you have to do is locate when you want that to go out. So if you've gone in and actually located in your Facebook Insights, in your Twitter analytics, that your specific audience seems to click through on your blog posts and seems to engage with your content best when it's in the evening. Maybe they get back home from work and they're looking at their computer and they look at their social media feed and they want to click through to your blog post, but you see your click-through rates are higher in the evening than they are in the morning time. What you'd want to do is scroll on down your schedule to those evening hours, locate a time slot, and just click on it on your schedule. Just click right there, and the details for that time slot are going to pop up here. Now, similar to when you're adding content to your library, what you're going to do with this time slot is go ahead and check off the permissions of which accounts this time slot has to go out to. So if something over here on the left is not checked off, Edgar's not going to send it at that time. So again, if you get really nitty gritty in the analytics of your Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter accounts and know that people are engaging with your content at different times, you can actually choose which accounts this time slot is sending to. Then you can always, of course, alter the day and time up here. If you decide you don't want to send it out on the hour, feel free to come on in, do it at 7:08 instead if you want it to make it look like it's off the hour there. Often the off the hour time slots can be really helpful around like the lunch hour or between meetings. Again, you want to kind of get into the mindset of your audience persona and think, okay, you know, if they're in between meetings and they're running around and they just want to wait till their next meeting and they're on Twitter, maybe that's going to be off the hour by a couple of minutes, or their lunch hour starts at noon. They get into their, the restaurant they're eating at and they start scrolling through social media. Maybe that's going to be at 12:15. So start kind of thinking about who your audience is, how they go throughout their day in order to inform the times that you're adding here. And then you're going to select the category right here from this drop-down menu. So the categories in Edgar are all customizable for your brand. So again, the ones that come with Edgar when you first log into your account are just predetermined selections on what we know work best for social media when it comes to that value marketing, when it comes to getting that awesome mix of content for your followers. But you also want to speak directly to your audience. So these categories are ones that we know work really well for our audience here at Edgar, like marketing like a nerd, because we all love marketing as MeetEdgar users here. So if we want a marketing article to go out, say at 7:08 p.m. to these accounts over here on the left, I'm going to click Save here, and this is now going to be a time slot on my schedule. So how these time slots are interacting with your library is a last in, first out rotation. So Edgar's going along here. On Monday at 7:08, when he hits this time slot you set up, he'll send the most recent update you added to that category in your library out to the accounts attached. He's then going to take that post and put it to the end of the line in the category and move along. Next time he hits that time slot, he'll send the next update out, put it to the end of the line in that category and move along. And he'll work his way through all of the posts in that category in the library. Once he reaches the bottom and there are no new posts within that category, that's when he'll start from the top again and actually start to resurface your older posts. So the cool thing about using this weekly repeating schedule for your evergreen content, that stuff that makes sense to send out no matter what time of year it is it gives the opportunity not only for your new followers who didn't get to see it the first time to engage with it, but also those people who didn't get to see it, who didn't get to click through on it because maybe they were driving or really busy, or at that time the message didn't necessarily resonate with a pain point they were trying to solve. And recycling through that can hit people when they want to engage with your content, when it's going to speak to them the most, and when they have time to consume it. Once Edgar starts repeating through this, if you're continuously adding new content to these categories in your library, Edgar will always favor posting that new, fresh content before he recycles through the old content. So you can always do math to know how often things will repeat on your weekly repeating schedule based on the ratio of how much content you add to a category in your library versus how often you place that category on the schedule. So let's say I add 10 posts to my market like a nerd category in my library, and I place it on my schedule once. I know I have 10 full weeks before Edgar recycles through the content. If I place it on my schedule twice as a time slot, I know that's 5 weeks until Edgar starts to recycle through the content. If I'm continuously adding content, he'll always favor that newest content first. However, if I don't have time to add content one week because it's been a crazy busy week, you can know you're still showing up for your followers on a consistent basis because Edgar will start to recycle through. And it's truly based on this idea that only about 10% of your followers ever see anything you post on social media. So the more that you're able to show up for them and give them this value, the more likely it is they'll be able to resonate with your message. So it's this idea of kind of getting in your head of write once, promote twice. So write that status update, put your heart and soul into it, get your message out there, and know that it'll be recycled through more than once. And it really gives you that sort of awesome connection with your followers. So that's how you're going to handle things like your evergreen content on this weekly recurring schedule. However, when it comes time to actually speak into maybe what's going on in the time of year it is or in the day it is, Edgar also has a couple of other features that you can schedule one-off holiday posts, or maybe you're doing a one-day promotional post for a discount. That you're going to schedule on the content level itself. So when you click to add new content here, you're going to do the same thing of checking off the accounts over here that you like it to go out to over here on the left. You'll write your status update in this section here. And then next to the Save to Library button, you'll notice you have a drop-down arrow you can select. So the first option, Send Now and Save. This is great if you've been out on the internet and you found an article that you want to share out to all of your accounts at once, but you don't want to spend the time actually logging into each of them. If you hit Send Now and Save, this post will go directly to your queue in Edgar and send 1 minute after you hit this option. At which point, once it sends after that 1 minute, it will either go to the end of the line in whatever category you've assigned it to here, or if this is a really time-sensitive article that you'd only like to send out once, you can use this advanced settings drop-down menu that you see here. You can mark it as a use once post. If you hit Send Now and Save, it'll send a minute later to the accounts you've attached. If use once is checked off, Edgar will automatically retire it. It'll still be in your library, so if you'd like to resurface it at a later date, you're more than welcome to do that as well. The second option here, the Schedule, Send, and Save option. Guys, this is going to be gold for your Mother's Day posts as we were talking, or to get all of your holiday posts scheduled out in advance for the year so you can enjoy those times off with your family and friends and not have to worry about updating your social feeds all the time. So if I click Schedule, Send, and Save, this time box is going to pop up where I can populate a day and time that I'd like this update to send out at. So if this box is populated with a day and time, what Edgar does is he holds this post out of your rotation until this day and time is reached. At which point this day and time that you place here is reached, he'll send it out to whatever accounts you've attached over here on the left. Similar to the Send Now and Save, if this use once is checked off, he'll automatically retire it. So again, get those Mother's Day, get those holiday, Memorial Day, get those discount posts in, mark them as use once if they're only good for 1 day, and you're good to go. If you use this Schedule, Send, and Save, but you do not have use once marked off, Edgar, it's kind of like putting a start date on the post. So remember with that weekly repeating schedule, it's last in, first out. But if you add a piece of content to a category that you'd like to send out, but not as the next content piece when Edgar hits that category on the schedule, again, if this is populated, Edgar holds this post, and the first time he's going to post it is the day and time you place in this text box here. So those are going to be your main ways of scheduling at Edgar. It is such a flexible platform to meet all your needs, to make sure that you have the ability to schedule things like seasonal evergreen content as well. So there are creative workflows you can take for scheduling if you make seasonal categories too. So this will be the last schedule feature that I chat about before we pop back into the chat. But in your categories tab here, what you can also do is if you're promoting events, say you guys are running a conference or leading up to a pre-launch for a new class that you're going ahead and launching, what you can do for these types of updates that you'd like to repeat is you can create a category. So click to add a new category, name it whatever makes sense, like springtime event promo or blog post for winter, anything that makes sense for you when you recognize that category. Make sure you uncheck this include when selecting random content to post so that Edgar doesn't post it if you choose to use random time slots on your schedule. You can then load all of that content into this seasonal category, and it can live in your library for as long as you want, but it's not going to send out because that category is not on your schedule. Once that season rolls around for you to promote your seasonal content or your event content, come to your schedule tab here. Make your seasonal specific category as a time slot. So again, just click into where you'd like it to send out. Go ahead and select it from this drop-down menu here. And that can run through for as long as that category is on your schedule. Once that season or once that event is over, make some sort of calendar Google alert for yourself to come back into your schedule and remove those time slots from your schedule. The good news about this is those posts can then live in the library but not send out, and you can reuse them the next season or the next event that comes around. If you're afraid you're going to forget to actually remove that time slot from the schedule, as a safeguard, you can also always expire content. So when you're adding content under this advanced settings where we had that use once post marked off here, this expire content feature does exactly what it sounds like. If you put a day and time in here, Edgar will keep this post in the last in, first out rotation until this day and time is reached. Once this day and time is reached, he'll automatically retire it. Again, similar to use once, those posts will always live in your library here, and you can always locate them again and actually unexpire them. We even have filters in the library for you to sort your library by use once posts. If you edit a post, and resave it, that use once will be repopulated again, so you can always use it again in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and pop back into the chat here and see what questions you guys have as we're chatting through this. And I'm happy to share my screen again if anything else comes up. Looks like Catherine, where's the content category button? Okay, Catherine, so if you weren't seeing that before here, the content category button is from this upper navigation bar here. Clicking to add new categories, super simple. There's no limit on the amount of categories you have, so you can do things like create holding or draft categories. Similar to that seasonal content, if that category is nowhere on your schedule, Edgar's not going to post from there. So a lot of people will create these draft categories just to load up content, or if you have a virtual assistant or team members that help you and you want an approval process, that draft category can be really helpful. You can then come to the library, sort your library by the draft category with these left-hand filters, and that's a really awesome way for you to be able to kind of get some collaboration going on. From there, you can then switch it from the draft category to one that's live on your schedule, either by editing the post one by one, or this bulk edit button right here will allow you to do things like select all of the content in a category. Again, these filters on the left, and use this upper level category drop down here to go ahead and move all of the posts from the draft category into one that's live on your schedule. Scroll down and click on update selected. So again, lots of the different flexibilities depending upon your workflows and stuff. How many weeks ahead? Great question. So can I schedule all content 4 weeks ahead? Okay, so Ross, there's a couple of answers to this. Specifically for the send at a specific day and time feature. So if you have a post that you want to schedule for 4 weeks in advance, this schedule, send, and save feature right here, you can do this for like a year in advance if you want. So if you have a post that you need to schedule out to go out, like I said, on New Year's, pop that day and time in here. You could even do it for 2021 if you wanted. The weekly repeating schedule, again, this week just repeats over and over again. So if you ever need to make edits to this, if you're starting to see like the days and times people are engaging with your content is starting to differ depending upon your Facebook insights, your Twitter analytics, stuff like that. If 4 weeks from now you wanted to change this up, you just come into your schedule. You can click into these time slots and alter the day and time. You can delete them, stuff like that. But this will just keep continuously repeating. And that's why those day-specific categories can be awesome too, because you can speak into what's going on in people's lives, which will resonate really well when you do things like a motivational Monday category. You can place that only on Mondays and know every Monday for the next however long your Edgar subscription is active for, that motivational Monday quote will go out to your audience. So the weekly recurring schedule, again, week after week will go out. So essentially you're scheduling it for as long as your Edgar account's active. If you're doing a day specific time, you can schedule that out for as long as you want. Regardless of how you're scheduling it on this weekly repeating schedule versus the add new content, schedule, send, and save, all those posts will always show in the queue here. So the queue is going to be a 2-week view, but it's a live updating 2 weeks. So every day it'll show you the following 2 weeks. If you add time slots or content, it'll be updated right away. And this is where you can start to kind of see where in the rotation of your posts you are. So Katie, if you want to do it on a 2-week rotation, you're going to need to do the math in order to figure that out. So essentially what you'd want to do there is either add the posts with that schedule, send, and save feature for every 2 weeks if you needed to do it on a really specific day. Otherwise, there's no way to kind of say repeat this post every 2 weeks. You'd want to do something like, say you want to send a post out like once a month or something like that. You'd need to put 4 or 5 posts into that category in the library, and you could place that category on your time slot once, and you'd know those posts would repeat pretty much every month. For a 2-week cycle, if you place a category on your schedule once and that category only has 2 posts in it, Edgar will recycle through those 2 posts every couple weeks. So it's all about kind of finding the ratio. You know, some people want to go ahead and repeat some of their most traffic driving posts to their website more often than other ones that they don't see people engaging with the most. So you create a category and have fewer posts in it. While your other blog post category could have more posts in it that you're sending out. So it's all about finding that right ratio. But I'd say if you have a post you want to go ahead and promote every 2 weeks, the most consistent way of going ahead and doing that, Katie, would be to add it as a schedule, send, and save post here. So under this drop-down menu, schedule, send, and save, and you could add it multiple times for every 2 weeks to send out. Otherwise, create a category with 2 posts in it. If you're promoting the same thing, and you could schedule that time slot once on your schedule here and know those 2 posts would just be recycled through. So every other week, 1 post from that category would be shared. I know that's kind of a little bit wordy there. So if you need help with that kind of brainstorm, definitely feel free to reach out to support@meetedgar.com after the webinar today, and we can kind of go through that as well. Anne-Marie, is there a way to share other people's content quickly? Cool. So for other people's content, you could create a category in Edgar called other people's content. So there's a couple of ways that you could add that content quickly. In our import tab here, you can go ahead and add in a blog's RSS feed so that automatically, anytime that blog releases a new blog post to it, Edgar's automatically going to pull that over into the library. So all you need to do is locate the blog post. So like for the MeetEdgar blog, I'm just going to put our URL in here, click Find RSS Feed, assign this RSS feed to a category. So other people's content could be one of your categories here. Check off the accounts that it has permission to go out to. And if you know that every single post within this blog is going to add value to your followers and you don't need an approval process, you can choose to send these posts directly to your library. And what happens with these RSS feeds is Edgar will check them every 24 hours. If a new post has been released in that time frame, Edgar is going to pull it into this category. He'll pull in the title of the blog post as well as the URL. Whenever this category comes out next on your schedule, that will be the next update that Edgar sends out. So it can be a totally automated process here. You can see you can also mark these as every single post from this blog I only want to share once, or you can keep it evergreen if that blog produces a lot of evergreen content and keep it in that last in, first out rotation. But if you place this, if you know like your blog or someone else's blog shares out content on like Tuesday nights, Edgar checks these RSS feeds at like 2 a.m. Eastern time. So you could put this other people's content time slot on your schedule for Wednesday morning and know that newest blog post they just released is automatically going to send out to whatever accounts are attached there. So it's a great way to kind of automate that process and keep people really knowing you're staying up to date in your industry and in your niche. One other thing you can do for other people's content that you just find on the online is this will be a blog post from the MeetEdgar blog, but this could be any content that you find online. This little Edgar icon that you can see in my toolbar right up here, if I'm on a blog post and I just click this, it brings up the add new content screen right on this blog post here, and it's already populated the headline and URL. So all I need to do is check off the accounts I want it to go out to here, select the category that I'd like it to be put into. And from here, if you wanted to just send this now, again, you can use the advanced settings, mark it as a use once post if this is something really relevant to the news or something going on trending right now. And you can click send now and save, or you can schedule it. Or if you just save it to your library in that category, this post will be seen as the last most recent post added to this category in your library. So it'll be the first post to send out when Edgar reaches that category on your schedule. So again, if you're sharing other people's content, the automated ways of getting that into Edgar are the RSS feed reader under your import tab, or by getting our Chrome extension, you can also download a bookmarklet for Firefox and Safari. If you need that, you can email support@meetedgar.com or go to our help center from this drop-down menu here. And if you go to our help center and just type in extension, it'll bring up the place where you're able to download that as well. Cool. What do we have? Steven, what if you need, so we do only have one plan, and it's for 25 account connections in Edgar. So if you do need more than 25 accounts, you would have to open a second Edgar account. We do offer a 20% discount on any additional accounts you need. So if you need to set that up, you can go ahead and email support@meetedgar.com and we can get that going for you. But within one Edgar account, there's no way to get more than 25 account connections. Cool, Jill. So this totally depends upon your audience of how much other people content that you do share out. A good mix of content that we always like to throw out there is a 80-20 rule. It's that 80% of your content should be really valuable content, and other people's content definitely goes in with that value added content, because you're not only showing your followers that you care about getting them the best content in your industry and niche, no matter where it's coming from, but you're also showing that you're staying up to date as an expert in your industry, the go-to person who knows everything. For Twitter specifically, other people's content is awesome to share because you can kind of think about it as like this water cooler situation where people are gathering around and they're talking about what's going on in their industry with the like-minded aspect that they're all interested in it. And if you're sharing that really great, valuable other people's content, curated articles, people are going to be really drawn to follow your Twitter feed because you're saving them the time and effort of actually going out there and Googling this stuff. You're bringing it to them in one beautiful curated feed. So it kind of depends on your industry. Real estate agents especially, other people's content is great because you're keeping people up to date on like house trends, on home buying issues, stuff like that. And then you can kind of sprinkle in your other sort of more promotional updates. So it depends on the field, it depends on the network, and it depends on your audience. However, I would say if you're doing these updates on your schedule here, the cool thing about having these categories is you can stick to that 80-20 rule of saying, educational and entertainment content 80% of the time. So if you're sending out 4 posts a day, if you have 4 time slots on here a day going to Facebook, let's say, 3 of those should be something that's educating or entertaining or other people's content there. And then that last post, wherever you put it, can be a little bit more promotional, whether it be sending people to sign up for your newsletter, asking people to buy your product, stuff like that. And it becomes a much more elegant sale where people are much more likely to say, you know what, you've added so much value. You've proven to me that your product or service can solve my pain point that I have, that I am happy to hand over my email address, or I am happy to hand over my credit card, because I know you're the right choice, and you've given all of this value to me, so I'm going to give value back to you. So that other people's content is definitely within that 80-20 rule. And if you're just getting started out in your niche or industry, again, it can really help you position yourself as an expert and as someone who can be trusted in that niche. Cool. Oh, Svetlana. Yeah, I know we have a lot of realtors who come to these things. So you guys are awesome for social media if you think about it. Not everyone's ready to buy a house right away. So this sort of nurturing relationship marketing that social media is so awesome for is a gold mine for realtors. Because you want to be able to do things like speak into people's pain points when it comes to them actually needing a realtor, maybe like a year down the road, that your name is going to be top of mind because you've been showing up in their feed, showing up for them, that when it's time to bite the bullet and buy their first house, you'll be the one that they do come to. So yeah, definitely thinking into the fact that you want to be able to speak to people in every single journey, in every single those who are like ready to buy right away and those who are ready maybe in a year from now. So thinking about how your categories can actually be placed on your schedule to make sure you're resonating with those people who might just be in the awareness phase of figuring out if they need your product or service versus those people who are going to maybe be ready to buy right away, ready to jump on right away. Cool. So I'm not sure if I missed anything. I'm just going to go ahead and scroll back a little here. Let's see, Ellie, you write your Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn posts separately in Edgar so we can tag people. So we don't have a way currently in order to tag someone unless it is only connected to that one network. And this is just because sending posts through the API does have to be pretty specific for those tags. So we don't have any plans to do this currently, but it's definitely something I appreciate you bringing up. We do have a feature request form, and I'll pop it in here real quick as well, that you can always submit features like this to our product team. And we love getting to know what the small business community wants to see from Edgar so we can make sure we are building tools. It's going to be right here. I also wanted to pop in before we pop off today. This is a really great place to start. If you are just getting started and don't have a lot of data on your actual communities when it comes to the times of day to post the best, this blog article right here that the lovely Maura actually put together is a great place to get started on just some aggregate studies that have been done in order to see the best engagement times on each network. So that could be a great place to start placing your time slots on the schedule. And then you can go into your Facebook insights and you can go into your Twitter analytics to actually gain the information on your specific audience. So I would start there, and then again, going into your Facebook and Twitter analytics is a really great place to actually hone in more on your audience. And I know that we're going over a little bit than our 30-minute feature webinar. So if you do have to hop off, definitely know we'll send a recording out here. But if you have more questions, I'll stay on a little bit longer. Looks like we have some questions about Instagram. So we are definitely in the application process for direct posting. However, Instagram is really cagey about their API because they do want it to be a community that is really engagement oriented, guys. You know, if they allow a lot of third-party apps to do social media automation directly there, they're definitely going to cut back on the live engagement. So they're not approving a lot of apps right now for that direct posting. So while we have our application in to get this feature, we're not sure when they're going to start approving third-party apps again. A couple of our developers, Kevin and Chad, actually went to the F8 Facebook conference last week, and that's something that they did bring up there. So we're definitely looking into it. We're definitely looking into building an Android feature and kind of working with Instagram's API to see what is possible. The cool thing about using Edgar for Instagram now, though, is what I mentioned with that engagement feature. It is all about creating a community and personalization these days. So you can do things with Edgar that leads to better engagement, like when you hop onto Instagram, when that push notification comes to your phone and you go in there and you select the photo, tap to paste your text in there. After you do that, you don't want to just post and ghost on your community. You don't want to just leave them after you post. You want them to actually learn that you're going to stay on there and you're going to consistently engage with them. So these push notifications are awesome in order to say, you know, okay, I just went in there. Now let me go and search some relevant hashtags and actually join in the conversation of these hashtags. Go like some photos within the my Explore feature of where I know that my community hangs out. And you'll really start to see, guys, I promise, if you do this, if you go in and you have these real conversations with people on Instagram, you'll start to see people notice your posts more, start to comment back if you're commenting on them, if you're liking their photos, you know, if you're spending maybe 10 minutes a day after you post a push notification that came from MeetEdgar, to go ahead and maybe write 2 comments, set a goal for yourself, and like 10 pictures. I promise you'll see your follower count skyrocket. And that's one of the cool things about using that push notification feature with Edgar, is that you're able to say, okay, cool, this is now giving me the opportunity to not only post something and keep my feed updated, but also it's a reminder to go in and engage, because that's what Instagram wants you to do these days. That's the features they're building. That's the love they're giving in the algorithm, is to accounts who are really using things that are engagement oriented, like your stories. They're giving a lot of love to not only stories and feed posts, but if you're an account who goes in and comments often, you're gonna see your posts skyrocket in the reach aspect as well. So I know that we say you want to automate in order to get time back on social media, but if you are engaging in these platforms and you are having these relevant conversations with your followers, it's going to be really cool to see that kind of love come back in, see your follower count and your likes on your photos and those little heart taps really increase. So I would kind of flip it around, get that mindset of saying, okay, Edgar's push notifications are giving me this opportunity to now engage with my community more. Cool. What else do we have? How can we schedule a post to be shared every week on Facebook? So I think you're speaking about our variations feature here, this how can we schedule a post to be shared every week, since Twitter doesn't allow it. So I didn't go ahead and share our variations feature here, but the variations feature will go ahead and allow you to reshare things on Twitter. So when you're adding content to Edgar here, and you click to add new content, if this is a post that's evergreen and you'd like it to reshare on Twitter, this add variation feature right here will allow you to do that. So you'll go ahead and click this add variation button here, and it'll pop up a second text box where you're able to go in and actually alter the language you're using to introduce the blog post, introduce your thought leadership concept, anything you can do to make it a little bit different. So the reason that you need to do this is because Twitter does have a term of service that says you can't send the same tweet to the same Twitter account more than once anymore. So for this reason, you do have to alter it up, but this is also seen as a great opportunity to do some A/B testing to see if your community responds to a different headline better, or if your community responds to a question that you're introducing the blog article with. And what happens here is when this entire post is up in the rotation of your posts based on your schedule, Edgar will share one variation and then he'll retire it for Twitter. The next time this whole post comes up in the rotation of your posts, Edgar will share the next variation and then retire it for Twitter. So he'll work his way through all of these variations here. For Twitter, he does have to expire each of them. This feature can be used for any other network as well, and Edgar will just keep rotating through all the variations. So for like Facebook, if you wanted to do some A/B testing on the different language that you're using in each post, you can go ahead and do that. If this is for like an evergreen blog post, so let's grab this link here. If you see you have a URL in this section here, you can also auto-generate variations. And what this does is Edgar uses a technology called natural language processing in order to pull out some pull quotes from within that article and actually share them as variations. So a really awesome way to get a lot of quick variations in there, so you can still reshare your traffic driving evergreen concepts on Twitter, but stay in line with their term of service. I always suggest setting yourself a schedule. We do email you when a category is getting low on variations for Twitter, but what a lot of people do also is when you come to your library, this last filter down here that says has publishable variations, if you select no and you select the account as Twitter here, you'll go ahead and see Edgar will go ahead and filter your library for any posts that are completely expired for Twitter. You can come in, click edit on the post, and add in other variations if you'd like to keep it in that order. Good question there. Cool, so we are gonna pop off. I'll stay on for maybe a couple of more minutes. If you guys do have other questions after the webinar today, definitely go ahead and let us know. Emailing support@meetedgar.com is great. Maura is a really great person to reach out to on Twitter as well. She does a Twitter chat every Wednesday. So go ahead and look into that if you wanted to join the discussion, a little bit more marketing techniques and stuff with the small business community, because we love setting you guys up for success in order to relate to other small businesses. You know, we're a remote company here at Edgar as well, so we know working alone or working on a small team can be a little bit challenging. So join in on the conversation, keep it really social. You can DM us on Instagram and Twitter at any time, or reach out to support@meetedgar.com if you want to kind of strategize on different workflows for your schedule, stuff like that. I'd also really love to hear how you guys like this feature focus webinar. It is a new one that we are doing here at Edgar. We're going to try to zone in on one different feature of Edgar once a week, just to make sure we're getting all your questions and workflows answered. So if you do have any suggestions on stuff that could help improve this, email me, support@meetedgar.com, or like I said, DM or mention us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we will definitely take that feedback into account. So yeah, we'll be sending out the replay of this. Join our help center. You know, from that drop-down menu, we have a lot of great articles in our blog as well that help kind of determine the best times to post for your specific audience too. All right, guys, I love hanging out with you so much. I promised Maura that this would only be half an hour, and it is already at 40 minutes here. So thanks so much for staying the whole time. I could talk about scheduling all day, so email us and we can keep this conversation going. Thanks so much for joining today, guys, and I'll see you next week.